but they were just on a big plot of forested land, and just went down there one day, just exploring, in the local area, and they just had a huge garden plot, and it was all overgrown. Stuck my hand in it, and it was like, man, this seems like some fertile soil. Nobody's here.
Hello and welcome to Long Story Short, a collection of side hustles, cool jobs, and interesting hobbies from your coffee shop regulars. I am your host of the podcast, Erik Busch, and I am here today with a very, very long-time friend, childhood friend of mine,
yes, sir.
Malique Robinson, who I've been begging to come on here, and he has been so humble about it. And I finally got him here, so
it's an honor. It's an honor.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Erik. Thank you.
It's gonna be a good one. Malique, to kind of jump forward of why I wanted him to get on this show, which we're gonna get to as we get into it a little bit more. When we were reconnecting after the coffee shop opened up, and I dragged him out here to drink some coffee, even though he wasn't a coffee fan at first. He was telling me about a community garden that he started. And hearing some details about the project, I was like enthralled by it. Such a cool thing. And I was like, man, I need to hear this whole story. I need to hear where it came from. I need to hear what you've been up to in between, the high school years until now, like 10 years later, like what's going on. So, so let's get into it.
Awesome.
So Malique, man, I mean, I know your story. I know where you came from, everything like that. But you're Belleville local, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's so I ended up here. I'm thinking when we met was probably 4th grade. But I'm a military brat.
Okay.
So my dad got stationed at Scott Air Force Base. So that's what brought me here. No family here, but this has become home.
See, that's crazy to me because I guess my memory so far back, like I just assumed you've been here your whole life.
Yeah.
Like
right, basically. I'm 7 years old. I moved here at 7 and it's become home.
Yeah.
So I guess I am a Belleville native now. But yeah.
Where's your family from?
So my mom is from South Carolina. My dad is from Florida. They met in the Air Force. And they moved around a little bit, but had me and my brother. So all my greater families from down south, but
okay.
it was me, my brother, mom and dad, us four. 1999.
1999. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
and have been here since.
And moved in started at Whiteside?
Yeah.
The only school?
Started out at Whiteside, 3rd grade. Went from there in high school. Almost moved in high school. My dad retired, and then just decided to stay here. So that's when he got out, and we stayed. And so high school, I went to college just up the street. So I've been here. At first, growing up here, you take. I mean, I guess just growing up here, you take some things for granted. And then as you grow older, it's like, oh man, I kind of like this place.
I always talk about when we were all growing up. I feel like there's this thought everyone's like, man, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna get out of Belleville.
Gotta get out of here.
And then you watch so many people they leave after high school,
right? And
then you give them 3-4 years, and guess what?
Yeah,
they're all back.
They either come back or it's like, oh man, I missed that about I kind of missed that, or I wish I would have. I'm happy being here.
I think it's a cool the idea behind it is it's this middle kind of ground that's perfect.
Yeah.
It's not a small town where everybody knows each other, and it's not a big city.
Yeah.
But we're real close to both of those things.
I couldn't agree more.
You can drive 15 minutes and you're in Millstadt, which
man,
is a town of a couple thousand people, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then you can drive 15-20 minutes in the other direction, and now you're in downtown St. Louis.
You can end up in the middle of nowhere, just an hour out, and at the same time, end up in the city. Or I kind of like where we're at on the map, just because we can go. We're in the middle, so you can, if you want to go to the west, if you want to go to the east, it's kind of within reasonable.
You got Chicago, Kansas City,
exactly.
Nashville, all these places, Indianapolis, so close.
Yeah.
So
nearby.
No,
So,
I mean, I think that's a big draw.
Yeah.
But all right, so
you mentioned too having to drag me out here because of being coffee, and I feel that, but seeing you open up a coffee shop, I was like, yeah, I have to. I'm not a coffee person, but I gotta check it out.
that was one of my favorite moments is watching you walk in here.
Oh yeah,
and I was like,
what
oh
do
my gosh,
I?
that's Malique. So excited.
What do I order? I don't drink coffee, but it's Erik Busch, so I gotta give it a shot. And I'm so happy that you introduced me to the latte.
I think my favorite part was you did an online order, and I saw your name pop up, and I was like, well, I'm running this order out as soon as he gets here. And I walk out, and you said, I'm gonna be honest, I had a dream about this latte.
Yeah,
I was
man,
dreaming about it.
You got me hooked. You got me hooked. It's like a glorified hot chocolate.
Yeah.
You put me on.
No, that was fun. So, I mean, early years getting into it, because I mean, my memory's a little fuzzy on all this stuff too. Did you play any sports? Do any hobbies while you were like growing up, middle school?
Yeah, so I was in growing up just in every sport. Just I guess like socially, and always been athletic. Always been part of things, I guess. And so sports was kind of growing up. I was just a participant in every kind of sport. I wasn't a standout at anything, I don't think. But
I remember basketball. Did you play on the team?
Yeah, and most of my friends played basketball. Everybody played basketball. So,
yeah, at Whiteside that was a big thing for everybody.
Yep. Soccer. That's something I wish I would have kept up, but everybody was just hooping. So I put that down.
I mean, I remember that. I was never any good, but I like to come hang out with everybody.
Yeah. Soccer, baseball, football, you name it.
You play football too?
Crazy, but my mom didn't let me play contact until I was in 8th grade.
What?
It's so silly, but in 8th grade, it's crazy. We went undefeated. I joined the Knights, and we went undefeated. We went to the championship. Fun times. But so that
was the first time tackling.
Yeah. Before that, it was just out in the street, out in the backyard, on the video game. But that all translated to 8th grade, and then freshman year I played at East. Got hurt. And that's what led me to running. So I was like, man, played football, got hurt, and then I was like, what could I do to rehabilitate myself? I started running, and I did track at Whiteside, and so that was like kind of something that I remembered. I was like, you know what, why don't I give that a shot again?
See, I think I remember track. I don't know why. I think I remember that it's the speed suits, man, that we were all so embarrassed to wear back in high school.
First the short shorts.
Yeah.
And then that graduated into the speed suits.
Yeah.
You had to earn that speed suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you and I remember running 800 middle to long distance.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I remember my first memories with you was the in PE.
Okay. I was like, I don't know if it's something we want to share or not.
Just the mile run.
Yeah.
Yeah, in PE. And then going to the track, and then you were nice, man.
It was the weirdest thing. Like, it was such a mental thing for me, and I've thought about this so many times. Like, there was a point in my life where like I just didn't have much confidence, and I didn't think I was like very good at anything.
Yeah.
I think it was partially because of basketball.
Hey.
Because I wanted to be able to play basketball so well.
Everybody else was.
Yeah, and and like one day I was like, you know what, like maybe I can run.
Yeah.
And like I used to run, these 9-10 minute miles.
Right.
And then all of a sudden one day I was like, I'm gonna try, and like I think I can do this, and I ran like under 7 minutes.
That's crazy, because I feel like I definitely remember that. Like,
I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
What is this? Like, I didn't even know I was capable of doing it.
Right.
Like, I think it was like a snowball effect from there of like, oh my gosh, like I can actually do something like that. And
definitely. I think running is one of those things too, where it really is a mindset, a mind over matter kind of thing. You change you make that mental shift, and it's like, okay, I can do this. And I literally remember when you did that, and I was like, man, where'd Erik come from? This is crazy. He's running fast.
Yeah. Like, oh man, we thought he was the slow kid that couldn't play any sport.
Man, and look at him.
But, man. So did you do track all through high school?
So it was freshman year I got hurt. Sophomore year I kind of stumbled around. Junior year is when I found cross country.
Okay.
Yeah, I found cross country first, and I was like, yeah, what is that? And literally had no idea what it was. But I started doing that, again, just to rehabilitate myself, started running.
Yeah.
And to keep that up through the year is when I joined track. And then, so it's like I did track for cross country, and then I don't know, the two kind of just balanced out.
See, I almost feel like most people do it the opposite way.
No,
like,
for sure, exactly.
Like nobody wants to go on those like 5-mile runs,
No.
7-mile runs when
Right.
you're in high school. Like,
Exactly.
that sounds miserable.
Right. Nobody's hard working.
But everyone's like, oh, I need, they're in opposite schedules. So
Yeah.
like, the thought is, oh, I'll do cross country so I can
Right,
stay
to supplement.
fit
Right.
while
Yeah.
the season. And you
Yeah.
were the other way around.
Yeah, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna keep running. So yeah, I did cross country junior year, then track, and then cross country track. So yeah, junior and senior years, that's when I did.
And was that like the only sports you were doing at the end?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you play volleyball too at all?
No, I didn't. Nope.
Okay.
I had the height, but yeah, I didn't. Nope. Volleyball
that
wasn't.
became like a weird popular thing like
It
at
did.
the end
I
of
mean,
high school. I think we got our first like men's team.
Right,
in the
exactly.
East, and
Yeah, it was kind of cool just to see. All right, there's a men's team, there's a boys team. It was a new thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, let's. I remember more people joining, and it just getting more of a highlight. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was
But
cool.
no, I rooted it on, but no, I wasn't part of it.
And then
Yeah.
so like when we got out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
I know we kind of lost touch a little bit.
Yeah, just yeah. I think I'm just thinking back to. It seems like so long ago, but yesterday at the same time.
13 years, 14 years.
Crazy, yeah. It's like, yeah, that summer or just going to graduating high school. Yeah, I'm just thinking of everybody kind of going their separate way, and
Yeah.
not even, it wasn't. Obviously, it's not like something you try to do. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna talk to this person again, or like, you just kind of go. You're moving forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I went to Edwardsville, just up the street.
I think I remember that because there would be times where like I had friends that were at Edwardsville. And I think, like, we would
right.
be like, oh, let's go visit Malique while we're up here.
Right.
And
Yeah. Paths cross and your connections cross. And I would frequently come back to Belleville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. It's not like I left, but I was just.
But you were living. You were living in Edwardsville, right?
I lived there for 5 years. That's how long my degree took.
Hey, 5 years is not bad. I mean,
yeah.
you see some, it takes a lot longer than that for some others. So, what did you study?
Man,
I don't know if I've ever even asked
yeah.
you this.
Right, yeah. So when I was there, whole reason why I ended up there, my best friend asked me to. I'm 17 years old, graduating high school. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. Not even able to put myself in that frame of reference. And so. Yeah, my best friend asked me, "Hey, man, you want to room with me?" But that's where his mom went.
Yeah,
is a alumni of, and so yeah, why not? It's down the street. I remember doing a campus tour there, and it was the scenery that kind of like I was like, all right, this is nice. It was just like it's kind of like ducked off in a forest, and so yeah, this is not bad at all. It's close to home. So yeah, I ended up there. I had no idea what I wanted to study. I remember it. I mean. Kind of fast forwarding, you do the general classes and everything the first couple years. My GPA was so low that
I mean, I think everyone's like,
yeah, my GPA was so low that I couldn't. I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Business school, it's easy something to apply everywhere. I couldn't even get into I got rejected to the business school.
Really?
Yeah, and so my GPA was that low, and I ended up going to my counselor. It's like, where. I need to graduate. Where do my credits land?
Like, I'm paying this money.
Yeah,
like, I gotta do
with no aim.
Yeah.
Still at that point, I had no idea what I wanted to do or anything. Those questions of life are still being questioned, and I did not have an answer.
Now you're 19 and a few steps farther. But
Right? Yeah, but still, yeah. Like I'm just going to class, and just because that's the next step,
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point, I went to my counselor. Where do my credits land? Mass comm was where it kind of went to, and so it's like, okay, didn't even know what that was really, but then it actually became kind of a blessing in disguise. I picked up a camera. That's where my interests kind of were, and mass comm kind of helped me project the photographs that I was taking, make use of those in a sense. So yeah, I studied mass comm. had a business minor, graduated in 2015, didn't use the degree. So I just got.
I mean, you did passively, because I mean that's another thing I remember too. Is like when I would look on social media and you'd see kind of what everyone's up to.
Yeah,
I always saw you posting these really, really good photos.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
You were, I mean, because I think even at one point I reached out to you when I was in my early stages, and I was like, hey, if I get some apparel, like Malique,
sure,
could you shoot some shots for me with the people? And like I know that never came to fruition, but I just like I remember that aspect of it too, though, of you out there with a camera.
Yeah, that was definitely. I feel like that was, and it was kind of like a gift and a curse, because at the time I loved shooting, and that the camera like helped me get my voice out. But at the same time, it was like anybody thought of my name, it was like camera.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, Malique, I need you to shoot this, or like I was like, man, this is like I don't live with that. I don't live with a camera in my hand. It's not my. But at the same time, like it was definitely like my interest was there, and I am grateful for that instrument to, utilize and give a voice to what I was trying to say.
So like. Before the college days, though, like I don't remember you ever with a camera in your hand before that.
Exactly. No, exactly. It literally. It was in college. Again, I mentioned like those, just being in the space of like, what am I here for? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Just kind of. It was a tool. The camera was a tool to speak on something that I couldn't find words to express myself. And so, that's where that came into.
Yeah. Was it like a class that you were taking, or was it just like an organic thing of like?
It was an organic thing. I remember crazy, but I remember like Instagram's like first days. I had so much fun just taking pictures and putting filters on them. I remember that whole like process of it. Yeah. Taking the photo and then the editing. That's what I like really enjoyed. But yeah, it was definitely organic, to where it's not like I was like, I wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
Like, it was really
wasn't
like
somebody you were like, I have to take this photography class.
Yeah, not at all.
And like, now I got a camera.
It was just picking up I remember I would take pictures of my friends all the time. Just that, and then that just led to. Just playing around with it and having fun with it, and being able to say something that I wasn't able to put words to.
So like, what was your kind of favorite things to shoot whenever you were doing that?
Yeah, so it ended up, this is while in college. I just remember, and I feel like it was kind of like a culmination of like where I was at in life, and just kind of growing towards, and just growing period, learning a lot, but I would look around at the world, look within at the same time, and I just had questions, and I would just learn by observing and taking things in. And so,
because I mean, there was a lot of like difficult things going on in the world too, right? I feel like I remember seeing you. Some of that kind of stuff, like going into some of lower income neighborhoods and shooting out there. And
so it was like it's like I'm here in the world, in my body as a vessel, moving around, looking around at similar people, and just I guess economically, socially, every aspect of it, and just like. Why is the world that we live in today like this? And that's what a camera helped me find, outside and intrinsically as well. And so I was able to just observe the world around me and take photos and kind of speak to that through those photos, more or less. So that's what you kind of have that inside of you. Just kind of like burning, I guess, in a sense, where it's like I kind of want to get that out, and that's what that helped me do. I wasn't, you're in the world, and somebody, you could get driven crazy, you can be emotional. You can kind of not know how to handle things. But if you're able to express yourself, it's like, okay.
It's like therapy in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Therapy is exactly the word. That's what the camera ended up being.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you still shoot today at all?
No.
Or no?
So and then in that whole journey, because people ask me that, to this day, do you still shoot, or do oh man, you need to pick the camera back up? And it's like, I hear that, but at the same time, I was able to get that out at the time, and where life grew towards, I was able to, that therapy kind of took on a different place, and that's what led me ultimately to what you first mentioned, the garden and everything.
So okay, so you got out of college, in
2015.
2015.
And so around that time, it's like it led up to, with the camera, the culmination of it, or maybe the peak of it, it was whenever Mike Brown was killed in St. Louis, 2014. I found myself out there with a camera and shooting, I was thankfully I was able to express myself through that. But then as time went on, and I was just like, man, that kind of, it was just not the happiest content, or the subject matter.
Just kind of, it can be emotionally draining. I feel like you're trying to make sure that those voices are heard and that expression's made, but at the same time, it's not a positive thing.
It's
you're surrounding yourself with it on purpose because you want to get it out, but
right. And so once it was out, I was I was able to, or where life led me to was just a different approach, or a different need, a different need. To love myself, and I get heal myself, nurture myself, just what I needed at that time. And so
what would you end up doing now, out of college? What was
out of college, I had a job at Scott Air Force Base. Just worked for the government as a contract specialist. I'm sitting in the office, putting contracts together so that hardware can be bought from small businesses and the government and such like that. So
was that using your degree?
No. Yeah, so I was there. Basically you needed a degree just to be there, but that was it.
So you used your degree, but not your actual degree.
Yeah. I got in the door just having a degree, and then and I was super thankful for that job. So I ended up there. I was at home at the time, and I was looking to, like we mentioned earlier, just wanting to get out of here and move, from this area. That's when my mom survived a stroke. She had a stroke. And so she had a brain tumor. They operated on her, hit something they weren't supposed to. She suffered a stroke right there. But thankfully, they sutured her up to where she's still here today. And she slowly woke up from a coma state. And so it was a blessing in disguise being home. I ended up taking on a caretaker role for her.
Was your brother at home at the time too?
At the time,
was it both of you guys?
He was at school. He went to school in Baltimore, to art school in Baltimore.
Wow.
That's where he was.
Yeah. When all this happened, did he end up coming home, or what ended up?
Yeah, so he was, I think at this point, he was at school. I think he had one more year.
Yeah.
And he came home for just a bit. But at the same time, it was me and my dad. Thankfully, he was retired so that he can take care of my mom. And so I was there to have those hands there to help him. And, since I was there, it allowed, I wanted my brother to be able to live, his life.
Because he was already away and at school and finishing so close to that.
So kind of getting his life getting started, and so he was in school in Baltimore. He moved to Maine right after that. I was his partner at the time, and so he was there on the East Coast while Dad and I were here, helping Mom out, and I was working at the time, and so that was that's just where I was.
Yeah. But you were so close to, like, right before that happened, you had this idea that you were gonna
move? I was like, or just like I didn't know where life was gonna go, or didn't have any trajectory, but thankfully I was all for a reason, there to be able to help out.
Yeah.
And so that's where I ended up.
So then I know lead into this, like, this whole community garden, which is one of the topics I really wanted to hit on. So when did that all start? Like, how close to this timeline are we at right now?
Yeah. So it all kind of like blends together. I mentioned the photo thing and how that was therapeutic at the time.
Yeah.
And that came to a stop whenever my mom was at home and she was sick. And at that time I was like, I could no longer go. That was half of the thing, going out to the photo to take it. You know? And so I was at home with her, and I had, that creativity just itching, like how do I scratch this itch, and that's kind of where it felt like purpose kind of came into it, and discovering purpose. She had a garden in the backyard at home, and I remember when she put it together, real small, probably 6x4 maybe, real small square,
like a little
rectangle.
hobby project or something.
Yeah. I remember when she did it when I was in high school, and I couldn't have cared less at the time, honestly. It's like, man, Mom, that's awesome, but I didn't have any interest in it, just being a kid. And so whenever she got sick, I kind of saw it, and I'm at home, just at home, kind of looking around. It's like, what can be done? What can I do? So on a day-to-day basis, I saw that just grow wild,
because she wasn't able to take care of it anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of just doing its own thing.
It was just there,
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just see what I can do, And so I went out there, put my hands in the dirt, and man, that was like the beginning of something. I just fell in love with that whole aspect of taking care.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went out there. I started it fresh, I started my own, put my own plants in the ground, killed everything, of course. And then just learned how to to grow.
Because
so,
I mean, this is where this all started, was your backyard, but then like you just like approached, was it even your church, or was it just a nearby church?
So
like
so it was I was out there and just in the backyard at home, and so the therapy went from photo to my mom getting sick to nature was a very like just healing thing, and so I would just always just be outside if I could, just surrounding myself with nature. And so that kind of just all like blended slowly into being active in it and participating in it by gardening. And so I started out in the backyard, and then that grew to I would love to have some more land, came across a church just down the street, and this wasn't on purpose, but just down the street, a church, I stumbled across it, and they had just like a whole lot of land, just a very small. You almost would have thought they were out of business or something, or just like run down,
Yeah.
But they were just on a big plot of forested land, and just went down there one day, just exploring, in the local area, and they just had a huge garden plot, and it was all overgrown. Stuck my hand in it, and it was like, man, this seems like some fertile soil, nobody's here.
Yeah.
And so I just went out there, would use that as like a place just to be,
So were you just like hanging out there at the time, like no one really knew that you were out there?
Basically, just hanging out. I was just hanging out outside, and then I came, and then I saw, it was one day, I saw just nobody went out there, and I saw a white truck just headed down here. I'm like, okay, here's somebody. You know, either this is gonna be good or bad. You know?
Which way is this conversation?
Yeah.
Go?
Where's this gonna go? And it was a member of the church there, and I just asked him about the congregation and the pastor and whatnot, and he was like, yeah, he gave me the pastor's number. I called him and I met him and befriended him, and yeah, he was like, nobody's out here to take care of this space, so it's like, if you want to, go ahead. So that's what.
So like, it was set up to be a garden, and like, did they have somebody at one point that was doing it, or?
Yeah, it's like you could tell that this was like gardened land at one point in time.
Yeah.
But it was way overgrown, and so it was like kind of there and just waiting for somebody to put some love into.
So like, how big, imagine,
man.
how big of a plot are we thinking? Like, is it like the size of this train depot, like that big, or bigger, or
bigger? It was
bigger?
like, and I want to say like half an acre.
Wow.
Yeah,
so it was a good amount of.
In total, because it was the garden plot, and then as well as the forest that surrounded it. So
yeah,
I would go out there again. I'm at home taking care of my mom, with not many like outlets, and so. Yeah, I would go out there, set up my hammock, read a book, set up a tent.
This is before they even knew who you were.
Yeah,
You're just some guy
I'm
going to go in the back of this.
I'm hanging out outside. Literally, it was like a. I'm trying to think of the word. Untouched land.
Yeah.
Nobody was out there, so it was kind of like a. And yeah, it's like a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Right in the backyard. It's like, man, this is really cool. So yeah, I would hang out there. But yeah, befriended the pastor, and he was like, gave me the keys. Here you go. Yeah.
So I mean,
take care of it. So
where do you start with something like that? I mean, you were like, you had your little tiny backyard plot that you were just learning how to do, and then all of a sudden they're like, here you go. Here's a whole half acre of land.
Yeah, it was
free.
it was fun. It was fun because it was like I started on just with the little plot, and I'm on YouTube just like searching things and learning.
Yeah,
and reading books here and there, just like listening to podcasts, and just came across like different methods and different ways to approach a garden, and so it was just like it was like a sandbox.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, I can try this approach, and so that's where I was able to learn gardening by just the trial and error of creative play almost. Yeah. So I took what I learned from the little garden and applied that to the big garden. Found that it's like, oh man, I need to change this or change this. And yeah, just started. I think it was a total of like 2 years and some change. I took that plot and like transformed it from just an empty, overgrown space to it growing produce.
So like, how did that process go? Like, that first year, was it just like tearing everything out, like getting down to like the bare bones? And
basically, I remember I had my brother out there helping me. And they had a tiller, just like a gas tiller.
Yeah.
And remember tilling up that whole land, and then putting down wood chips to cover things. The whole thing was just like transformed.
Yeah.
But yeah, just took took some principles that I learned from the small garden space and just put them to the big space and see if they would either work or not work. And
was there like anything you guys had to like build and like add into it, or like did the church participate in some ways? Like what was
it was all like it was very humble and organic, and like in a sense as nature provides. It was all like everything was there, from the wood frames that we used for trellises. Everything was just very, very basic and humble, but just enough to, you don't need a whole lot, which was the really cool thing to learn.
You just get like some basic tools. You get some gloves, some shovels, some things like that, and
you got your hands. You don't even need shovels. But yeah, I mean, very, very, very basic and very organic, to where you know all you need is a seed, some ground, the rain, the sun, literally just the elements.
Yeah.
You know that are here. All that is like it's a full closed circle. It's an ever encompassing circle, to where everything that you need is already here, in a sense.
Where did, like, when you first started planting, like, were there certain things that you were like, I know I'm not going to kill this thing? Like,
Oh yeah.
like were there your safe plants that you're like, oh, if I plant these, at least I know these will grow? Like,
Sure. I think that I started out just with the basic kitchen things, you know, things that we eat, things that we ate at home, you know. Tomatoes were something that we had already grown.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, cucumbers. So, and I wasn't scared to like fail or like, you know, kill something.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like part of it. So like, okay, I see how this dies. Now I can know how to nurture this and for this to grow too. So, I just took a stab at all like the basic kitchen vegetables, and then just took it from there.
Because, I mean, I remember one year I tried to grow some cucumbers.
Yeah.
I mean, and it went pretty good, I would say. Like, we got cucumbers at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But the amount of time it took for me to grow,
Yeah.
like, 12 cucumbers, and the amount of energy it took for me to grow 12 cucumbers.
Right.
Like, the next season came around, and, you know, Audrey was like, oh, you're gonna plant those cucumbers again? I was like, I don't know, man. Like, it was a lot of work
Cucumbers
for $4 worth of cucumbers.
Right. Cucumbers are tough, man. They require a lot of water.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's funny you mentioned, like, you know, for $4 worth, you know.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, a big part of it was not even the benefit of the, you know, you think you plant a garden for the produce, but like literally 75% of it was just the gardening aspect of it.
Yeah.
Being outside and just working with nature.
Therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the fresh air, the mind space, the peace that's generated from that practice. The veggies are a bonus. Whatever you grow is a bonus.
Yeah.
So and then, you know, from there, just was able to. I just enjoyed growing things to be able to. Sure, one, you know, taking your own kitchen and enjoy, but like to pass that out and to share that with your friends and loved ones. Like, there's I feel like, you know, one of the best gifts you can give is like something that you grew. You can't go to the store and just buy by the time it's at the store, you know, it's been transported, it's been that whole process of like getting it from point A to point B.
Yeah, there's so much time and it touches so many different hands.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, to get it straight out of your yard, just that whole process.
So, like, what else? I mean, so you said you know, tomatoes, cucumbers. Yeah. I always remember these big lettuce heads, right? You guys ended up growing some
lettuce, collards, peppers, cabbage, beans, beets, carrots,
potatoes.
Yeah, potatoes even. So, you know, that was potatoes are cool to grow. At the same time, that was kind of one where it was like it takes up so much space and they're so cheap. They're so cheap at the store. I'm just gonna save the space and I'm gonna go buy some potatoes.
Oh, that was one.
Yeah,
like, did you?
I tried it, and then, you know, it took up so much space to where I was like, this is just. I'd rather just buy.
Because like they kind of push themselves outwards, and so like. Do they tangle themselves with like some roots of some other vegetables that are growing, or is it just?
It's like it took up space where other vegetables could grow that I personally would prefer to grow, as opposed to the mounds of potatoes that are there that are just taking up space. Yeah, and it's like I could just go to the store.
I mean, our carrots are pretty much, they're not the same, but they're like another underground vegetable, right? Where like you don't know what this thing is going to look like until you're ready to pull it out of the ground.
Sure. That at the same time, carrots, they don't take up much space.
Okay.
To where, and then a fresh carrot compared to a store carrot, like completely different. Yeah.
Night and day.
Yeah. Big difference. But yeah, carrots are a fun one to grow for sure. But yeah, they don't take up much space at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really just those potatoes that are just a pain on them.
Yeah, they're just huge.
Yeah.
And they're like they literally they're like a mound style type of growing, and I don't even know if they're considered a vegetable.
It's like a root vegetable. Is that what they call those things? I guess a starch.
Yeah, I can't even. I know they're not in the vegetable category, as I was gonna call them, But yeah. So I just personally, I'd rather grow other things in place of where the potatoes grow.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing to grow? Like, was there something that you really loved? Like,
I think
whether it was eaten or just like the way that you'd work with it over time.
That's a good question. Kale, I think. Yeah. Kale was my favorite just because I used it the most. Tomatoes are another favorite. Whenever you think about whatever's in store versus what is grown in your garden, herbs are another one. That's just like the freshness and the smell and the taste.
That's
and the
one
quality.
thing I always like. Whenever I see these people with these herb gardens, you know, and they got like, thyme and rosemary and things like that, I'm like, it's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's a fear of mine, is growing those things.
Sure.
Because you just watch people and you go out there and you're just clipping pieces of this live plant off and taking it in with you. And I'm like, how's this plant feel about me just coming outside, just like constantly taking little snippets off of it? Like,
man, I feel like it's probably happy, like, oh man, enjoy me,
Yeah.
And the thing is like, because you literally have some time that's out there.
I know you were the one that pointed that out to me that one day.
You still have time out there from whoever was here before.
Yeah.
And so, herbs it's like it is intimidating, but at the same time, they're some of the easiest to grow.
Yeah.
Where you just plant it once and it survives the winter. You just go back out there and
you keep sniffing it, and it just keeps coming back.
You give it a haircut, and it's like, oh yeah, and enjoy me. This is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're here for us.
So this was like you said 2.5 year project.
Yeah.
Down the line?
And then I was there like almost like it was like a daily thing, just to be out there and just in that therapeutic space of just growing. And then I met somebody special, and I remember I had invited her out to the garden, the church garden.
Yeah, was this the woo factor? Like,
it was where I was at. It was where I was at the time, and so it was like, hey, come out here and see this that I'm working on. Met her and ended up we had a son on the way, and so like, okay, if I'm gonna be gardening, like, okay, yeah, the first question was like, okay, where are we gonna live? And so such a blessing in disguise, my father had purchased a house many years ago. It was so funny, but it's a house that was right down the street from where you grew up.
Really? Okay. Yeah. And, right by Whiteside.
Yeah. In Richland Prairie.
Yeah.
Right down the street. And so he purchased that house, and my mom got sick, and so that project, he was just gonna flip it, renovate it and flip it. And so that project went to the wayside.
It's still pretty close to your childhood home too, then. Like,
oh man,
literally, like the budding of the neighborhoods right behind
exactly.
each other.
They're adjacent to one another. Where you step out in the backyard.
We never had a street that connected. I remember we always had to cut through people's backyards to get to each other's houses growing up.
And get yelled at. Get threatened to call the police on us. Like, get off the bike. You're right to the yard.
But so you were still. Child on the way, you were still real close to mom at the same time.
Yeah, and then I mean, it was like the house was there, and so Dad just passed that on. Thank God he passed it on to me, and so it was just like, okay, we got a lot of work to do, but there's a house right there for family, and so I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be gardening, I got a son on the way, I would like to ideally garden at home. As opposed to gardening, the church garden was awesome, but it's like, I want to be able to do this in my backyard. I want
you don't want to have to take a newborn baby with you to load them up in the car, drive to the church, you hang out here while I garden,
right, and
it's
like, and that wasn't even. It was like, it was that at the same time, like, just having that, the whole principle of the garden and growing. I want that. It's like a home kind of thing. And so the very first thing, again, the house needed renovating, but that was the very first thing I did was start the garden in the backyard. and so I took everything that I learned from this church space, and applied it to the backyard there, and was able to make like my dream garden in a sense.
Nice. So
Yeah.
now, do you still like participate in the church one at all? Do you
So-
know how that one's going? Are you
can
afraid to
ju-
look?
No, no. So you can drive by, and then this is another like aspect that I like love about just nature or just being outside. Like the nature does not need. We can be beneficial. We can also just be destructive, but where like it doesn't necessarily need us. To where that garden was ultimately that church garden, it was reclaimed, I say, by by nature.
Okay.
Literally, like it grew over, like it's it's
Is
like
there still, you think, some like hidden vegetables that are like coming back annually, or like maybe those
right, some herbs or something. Yeah, maybe so. And I think that the pastor out there, he goes out there and like puts a few plants in the ground.
Yeah.
But I drive past all the time, and you can see from the street, just how I found it.
Yeah.
Overgrown.
That's crazy. So it's like, it's almost like this passage of time that's condensed so small. Like, I'm sure if you watched it, from a camera's view of like how it was to how you made it, and then now back returning to its original state in the matter of a couple years.
Right. Oh, man, I think a year. Yeah. It just
is that such a crazy thing to like look at too? Of the way that nature just comes back on itself.
Yeah. It just it's like a full circle thing to where the nature period is able to stabilize, balance, and like heal itself. And because it's like the ground, the soil is alive. That's one thing I learned through gardening is you just walking on the ground, and it's like you don't think about life that's in there, but that's literally what plants, what everything comes from, is what is alive in the ground to be able to nourish and push through the soil and fruit, to where the ground doesn't like being just uncovered, to where that's why weeds are a thing. Is because whatever is living under the ground is gonna try to push and cover any type of naked ground. So it's just like it's a powerful thing, just knowing what's beneath us is alive. In a sense. So
and then so now you got the kid at home. Home. You got house that's got to get worked on. You got
it's almost there, man. I can't wait to.
You got the perfect garden in the back.
Wouldn't say perfect, but it's like my perfect. It's like a perfect scenario.
So like when is this what time frame are we looking at now then? Because I mean, this is like 2-3 years ago. Like
talking about like when I started.
Like whenever you moved into the house and everything.
Yeah, I haven't even moved in.
The garden's going.
The garden is the garden is there and it's going. But yeah, it's home, but it's not lived in just yet. At this point now, it just needs. I mean, literally done everything from the floors to the walls to the ceiling, everything.
Is this something that you're doing yourself too, or are you hiring?
Me and my dad.
There's another skill. Like you don't have these background skills, right? Like
so. Yeah, my dad. Thank God for my dad. He has it all. He was I mentioned the Air Force. He worked on planes.
Yeah.
So he's just a real like handy guy. And he's not getting any younger, man. He just turned like 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still like that keeps him young, is just like moving around and working with his hands. And so thankfully for him, he's been working with him to do everything from the plumbing to you name it, the whole house.
So now you're like picking up on those skills too.
Yeah, and that's something that like so that's where I'm super thankful for it, but you got to have like an interest in doing that to like really enjoy it.
Are you saying you don't?
No. So I love working with my hands outside, and that's kind of my thing. At the same time, when it comes to like carpentry and like working or even like cars and stuff like that, I'd rather I don't enjoy that. I don't like the mechanical aspect of, but like being in nature and working with the dirt and all that, the natural stuff that's there. That's my thing.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm super thankful to be learning at the same time from my dad. These other skills.
Because at least, I mean, now if something ever goes wrong in the future, like you're like, I built this, I helped build this, I know how to,
I can
how to
do
fix
that
it.
for sure. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, you left your job at Scott though recently?
So yeah, that's
because I know you got another project that we're going to talk about too.
That's another story too. Yeah, that's another story.
So like when all this was gardening and and everything was going on and stuff like that, were you still there full time, or were you kind of in transition?
Yeah, I was there full time. I was there working there full time, and at the time that was like, I'm thinking of, it was pre-pandemic, so I was still there in the office, and it's right nearby. So yeah, I was still there and working full time, and taking care of my mom whenever I got home. But yeah, having a child, I wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. That's just what I wanted to do, and having mom there. Everything kind of just like led me to, and then the pandemic on top of that. Everything led me to what I believed was important in life, and it just being at home and family and loved ones. And that's just where I wanted to put all of my energy towards.
So this next project that you were working on too.
And it's
a cleaning.
So yeah, that's so jumping from just moving to the entrepreneurial space. I had an idea of what I wanted to do. At the same time, I was also willing to try many different things to kind of find what would work. And so yeah, that was one hat that I wore, was starting a cleaning business, a residential cleaning business. And again, with the whole like just home being important, felt like a clean home was like just placing importance on home. Kind of led me to okay, I can provide a service to other people in an important space.
So now how did that come, like, because you built this whole thing from like the ground up, right? Like,
and you're speaking of like the business.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Tell me about this. Like, because I remember you said that you weren't yourself a cleaner, right?
Right. Yeah. So I was like, I'm at home, and like I'm thankful for like these days things just being at our fingertips. So I'm a real like proponent of just using what we have, as far as like technology. And just resources that are here and in our hands. And so yeah, what I did was utilize the internet space to and this is where I was like, okay, I'm using my degree now. Mass communicating, just relaying or putting out there a service for people to find. And so the thing was, with cleaners, a business that's old as day one, it hasn't gone anywhere. But at the same time, cleaners are mainly good at cleaning and not necessarily the
like marketing themselves.
Or like graduating towards web 2.0, 3.0, the day that we're in now. And so that's just what I'm taking advantage of, is partnering with cleaners and giving them more of a reach in being found, mainly through Google, but just utilizing the internet space. So these people, they don't work for you. They work with you. Exactly. In a way, right? Like independently contracted. Okay. Yeah, like 1099. Not employees. But yeah, independently contracted, and finding them work through a reach that they before didn't have. So you created this website home or something like that? Yep. Gave them a platform online. Yeah, like a landing. I got a landing page, got the phone number, website, and all that good stuff, to where the client reaches out to me, and then I'm able to marry the two. and bring them together.
Okay.
Yep. So it's a pretty simple business model that I was able to utilize from home, and still be with my son. Which was the goal.
So
but
is that what you're doing full time right now, or like what's your are you already on to like you already have another project that you're starting to do?
This
whole too soon? Can we not talk?
No. So it's at the same time I'm kind of like, and maybe I'm not sure how it is for every other entrepreneur, but wearing many hats at a time, where kind of having many things going. So I do it full time, but at the same time having other things that are going as well, to where finding what I want to do, and what works best, what I'm good at best, and just kind of eliminating, taking away the fear, and being like, okay, I can try this, I can try that, and not being afraid to spread out those eggs in your basket, not having them just in one.
Going back to that whole thing, what you were saying about gardening, no fear of failure.
Exactly. Yeah. Putting in, I got, throw out the seeds, one of them being the cleaning business, and we'll see which one grows best, which one I can nurture best, which one I'm personally best at doing, you know? So that's the space that I'm in now, to where I'm not Malique Robinson, the cleaning business owner, but I'm Malique and I have a cleaning business.
Okay.
As well as I have a garden, I have a son, just these when I was coming on here too, I was wondering, was curious, was like, I wonder what I'm going to be introduced as, or like, that's kind of something that I always like think in
Malique the photographer.
Exactly. Right. No, to where, you can be something, just one thing, but at the same time, like, we're just so multifaceted, to where, maybe a label doesn't even do justice.
Yeah.
Or, not being limited to just the label. So, or just fitting in a category, or just doing one thing. I don't have like a solid black and white, just like goalpost, but more of just like just heading towards this space that I'm growing in.
You know where you want to end up in life. You don't know how it's going to happen to get there. You don't know what maybe the set is, but you want to be a stay-at-home, mostly stay-at-home dad that gets to spend a lot of his free time with his family. And a business that doesn't require you to be there day in and day out.
I would say, like, knowing, maybe not knowing where exactly I want to end up, but knowing the space, and just I'm being thankful for the very thankful for the direction that just continuing to move in. And I got nothing but faith that it's got me this far. So just continuing on that path is what I look forward to.
Man, it's real exciting.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I'm happy about that.
Appreciate it.
So winding it all down, I mean, moving into your house hopefully soon.
Yeah, man. This 2024, man. So thankful for that. I'm maybe from the conversation you could tell I'm a homebody kind of person, and the apartment that we're in now it's been amazing, and I'm very thankful for it. But to call a home, and it's been home, but just haven't lived there just yet. And so I really look forward to that chapter of life, and continuing from there.
So all right, so if people are interested in finding you, anything you want to shout out for them right now? Like, you want to shout out this cleaning business? You want to shout out some social media tags, like how to find you if people are curious about you?
So I'm trying to think of, like, yell out a phone number.
We can always attach things like that at the end. But like
easy place, just because everybody has it. You can, on Instagram, I'm Dr. Mathis, Dr.Mathis. Mathis is my first name. Malique, my middle name.
We don't know him by Mathis. We know him by Malique.
Malique, I've always gone by my middle name. My dad's name is Mathis as well. But I'm an open book. I love coming across like minds, like ideas, or just people that are open to creation or any aspect. I love people reach out to me. I've never grown anything in my life. How do I do this or whatever? I'm all game on giving pointers, tips. I like being a community type of person to where my door's not shut. I'd say Instagram is a good place to reach me. As far as the cleaning business, My Mobile Maid is the name. All it is a Google away. You can find it there. Can find that there.
And then you will put them in touch with the perfect person.
the best cleaners in the area. Seriously. Yeah, I got the best. I got the best teams for sure that I'm working with.
You make it nice and easy, right?
Yeah, make it simple.
So.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, Malique, man, I appreciate you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you.
Figure out everything, what was going on in your life.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like I said, you might see Malique in here every once in a while.
Yeah, I love this place. I love this place, honestly.
I think I see him every once in a while working on a computer here.
Yeah, my brother's in here. My brother's in here more than I even. But yeah, this is such a great space.
Dragging family from Europe out here sometimes.
Yeah, man. Anytime that family comes from out of town, this is like first on the list. So. We gotta get breakfast at Clara B's, and we have to go get a drink at LongStory. So
of course.
Yeah. This is like stop number one.
Yeah. So we'll link everyone into Malique. We'll put his social media tag. You can see if you scroll back, you can see them. Photography photos that you used to take back in the day.
It's all there.
You can see the garden.
Yep.
You can see Isaiah, man.
Yeah.
Cutest little kid ever.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
And then we'll link his maid service on there too for anyone that's curious in the area. Whether you're curious because you need somebody to come out and clean, or you're curious just because you want to kind of see what somebody else has built from the ground up. And get an idea of for your next project or something.
Yeah.
So
reach out. Feel free.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Malique.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Coming on.
Absolutely. It's been fun.
We'll talk to you guys next time in the next episode that we've got coming up. We got Jody from Clara B's coming on next, which is going to be really, really exciting.
I look forward to that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be.
Jody's awesome.
We get to hear her story and where she came from. But until next time, guys, thank you, and hope to see you over here for coffee.
Yep.